Dungeons and Dragons, man, it's a great freaking game. But in the 50 years since D&D was first published, we've gotten literally thousands more fantasy role-playing games, reinventing the rules in fun ways, and for every subgenre you can imagine. Gnarly. And some of these so-called indie RPGs are made by professional game designers with high-quality artwork and materials on par with or even competing with D&D. So whether you're hoping to expand your own RPG horizons or find a great gift for the D&D lovers in your life, here's a few fun, high-quality games I'd recommend. Because I am Bob, this is where we learn how to have more fun playing RPGs together, and please leave your own recommendations and testimonials down in the comments. But know that my list is limited to games that are complete and available right now in November 2024. So, number 4, Dungeon Crawl Classics. Personally, this is my second most played RPG besides D&D 5e, because I love it. But out of the 4 indie games in this video, it would still be the least familiar and intuitive for D&D 5e players, to whom I've promised the 4 best indie games. DCC is just based on older editions of D&D, which is the case for most of these recommendations, but we're talking old. So yeah, you've got 1d20 roll high plus character stat with hit points, armor class, and owlbears, but the only class options are warrior, thief, wizard, cleric, dwarf, elf, and halfling, because your class is also your ancestry? Same, but different. And I've already made multiple videos about this game, so right here, you're just getting the quick pitch. Dungeon Crawl Classics takes your characters from super fun, literal peasants to super fun pulp fantasy heroes who can grapple demigods and cast magical darkness over an entire city. DCC is famous for that level 0 meat grinder gameplay, but yeah, even by level 2, your party's getting pretty dang heroic. There's weird dice, wacky random tables for critical hits and fumbles, and that truly wild magic spellcasting. It's been around for over a decade, got a loyal community constantly making fun original content for it, and the writing just oozes a personality that is actually distinct from the Dungeons and Dragons of today. Now, number 3, Pathfinder. Also originating from older editions of D&D, Pathfinder is now in its own 2nd edition, still building on D&D's framework by adding tons of options for character customization and increasing the game's overall mechanical depth and breadth. Increased mechanical richness, while allegedly smoothing out gameplay in plenty of ways. And I say allegedly because even though Pathfinder is the 2nd most popular fantasy RPG out there, I just haven't played it myself. I mostly prefer characters that start simple, like a couple features, some gear, that's it, and then they stay pretty simple even as they become much more powerful and heroic, like in DCC and my number 1 recommendation. But whether or not Lil Ol Me has played it, Pathfinder absolutely belongs in a list of the best indie RPGs for D&D players. And Pathfinder's got its own dedicated community making awesome original content, like today's sponsor, Battlezoo Ancestry's Year of Titans. Available for both 5e and Pathfinder, this unique RPG product would make an amazing gift. In January 2025, and then every month for a year, you'll get a Titanic playable species, a living spell, a cyclops, a troll, a kraken, a cruise ship. Wait a minute. But your monthly Titan comes as a PDF, around 20 pages or more, of the species and lineage options, world-building lore and factions, plus digital tokens and battle maps that work on every major VTT, like Roll20, Alchemy, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, and more. You actually get 2 species right away in January for a total of 13 through the year, all adding up to a full book's worth of fun player options and lore. So go check out Battlezoo Ancestry's Year of Titans on Kickstarter right now through the link below so they know who sent you. Okay, number 2, best indie RPG for D&D players, Tales of the Valiant. This fantasy role-playing game is very similar to Dungeons & Dragons 5e. In fact, it is still considered a 5th edition RPG, quite literally designed to be compatible with all of the awesome 5e adventures and monster books that the publisher had previously designed for D&D. They just wanted to make their own game to avoid any potential licensing shenanigans in the future. That's putting it really lightly, but we don't have to get into that today. So unlike the other 3 games on this list, Tales of the Valiant is based on the current edition of D&D, easily making it the most familiar and intuitive for D&D players. It's got the same 12 classes plus a mechanist. It has similar ancestries, but they're broken into lineages and heritages for more customization. You still pick a background, equipment that you'll recognize. I think all that's missing is their version of alignment. They might have just streamlined that right out of their game. So you may wonder, what's the point? Well, easy. Just as Pathfinder once took D&D, fine-tuned it, rebuilding the game based on community feedback to create what is currently the second most popular fantasy RPG, Tales of the Valiant is doing that with the latest version of D&D. However, they are already adding some fun core mechanics like doom and luck points to give both monsters and heroes a gameable edge. On that note, TOV monsters are apparently beefier and generally more interesting than your average D&D 5e monster, and that checks out with this publisher previously being best known for producing the best 5e monster books. Though I must say, apparently, because I have also not tried Tales of the Valiant yet. What? This guy hasn't even played half the games in his list of recommendations? Please remember, Pathfinder just is the second most popular RPG besides D&D. The community has already decided it belongs in this list. And Tales of the Valiant is 5th edition, aka D&D, aka the most popular RPG. So I only haven't tried TOV yet myself because personally, I mostly enjoy 5e at its low levels, especially in the form of D&D starter sets. And when I found out many months ago that TOV already has a starter set in the works, I just decided to wait for that in 2025. Plenty of fun RPGs to play in the meantime, like my third most played RPG, the #1 indie RPG for D&D players to try out, and 2024's best indie RPG, according to all the awards it won at the only prestigious award show for tabletop role-playing games, Shadowdark. A game based on both old D&D and current D&D, giving it a distinct voice and personality while being familiar to anyone who's played any version of Dungeons & Dragons, and in my opinion, being the best onboarding tool for getting total noobs into the D&D family of games. Same core roll, 1d20 roll high to meet or beat a target number, adding a character stat modifier from the same 6 stats as D&D, and also using advantage or disadvantage if it makes sense in the situation. However, Shadowdark shrinks the range of target numbers, making it a little easier for the GM to quickly assign one to a challenge. Also, like DCC and older D&D, there's no long list of skills that narrowly categorized player character actions a la I stealth into the room. Instead, players are encouraged to describe what their character is actually doing, and the GM tells them which of their 6 stats to roll with, which is great for new players who may not understand what each of those narrowly categorized 5e skills are for. But just like 5e, Shadowdark characters have a background, ancestry, class, and levels, and alignment, and hit points and armor class and familiar equipment. Notably, the Shadowdark core rulebook has almost no options compared to a game like Pathfinder, and it certainly has fewer options than D&D 5e, but the options it does have are all familiar to anyone who has at least read or watched The Lord of the Rings, i.e. most people on planet Earth. And one part of Shadowdark that I use in all of my games now, whatever I'm playing, is how it measures movement and distance in 3 abstract ranges. This approach gives me just the right amount of structure for theater of mind or for using a quickly drawn map, both of which I have found to eat up dramatically less game time than detailed movement on a 5-foot grid. The Shadowdark core rulebook includes a complete D&D style fantasy bestiary with super simplified entries for each creature that may take a minute to get used to. However, I love how Shadowdark uses monster morale checks to determine if and when monsters flee from battle, possibly giving player characters a much needed edge in desperate situations and teaching them firsthand that not every fight should be a fight to the death. I wish this mechanic was more explicit in D&D 5e as well. And famously, almost infamously, Shadowdark uses a real-time 1-hour timer for torches because no characters can see in the dark and they can only carry a limited amount of gear. This single popular mechanic makes dungeon exploration thrilling in Shadowdark, but the annoying side effect is that some people think Shadowdark is only meant for dungeon crawling. No, Proportionally speaking, the core rulebook gives just about as much attention to running overland travel and even social encounters as does the core rulebook of D&D 5e. Shadowdark would work totally fine for an entirely above ground campaign. So if any of that sounds cool, please give this video a thumbs up. Maybe check out this video on your screen of all 15 RPGs I tried last year. Look forward to the one coming early 2025 about all the ones I tried this year. And thank you to the Bob World Builder patrons for supporting what I do, and keep building.